Hi, and welcome to Soul Activation Podcast, a world-class broadcast of spiritual insight and inspiration with me, Suzanne Alexandria. In this series, we dive deep into the magical sea of you, to that place in you that's ready to activate, but might not even know what that means. Do you crave to be more spiritually connected? Intriguing, fun, and full of magic, we'll laugh and cry and talk about how crazy this life is, offering healing and insights to lean into. This show broadcasts from pure divine love. Are you ready to light your eternal flame, to spark some magic? Let's talk transformation. Good day or good evening, everyone, wherever you are in this beautiful moment. Let's all do something a little different today and bring in a few grounding breaths to feel and remember that we're here on this gorgeous planet with heaven in our hearts and earth under our feet. And yeah, we have another day, right? It's just been a pretty magical time and powerful this February. So feel into the love that supports us all, that fills us and that holds us from the center of the earth, literally. Welcome to Soul Activation Podcast. I'm Suzanne Alexandria, and I'm a transformation coach. I'm a cosmic energy aligner and an energy healer through the Akashic Records. And I help people to reset, to reboot, to reconnect, lots of things, to restore the passion and love that's been waiting for them or you since time immemorial. That's what that means for me, to connect to your eternal flame, which is what this podcast is all about. I love to bring us together through stories and through energy and thoughts about what's possible. I mean, do you feel a little beleaguered after the year we had? Do you need some hope, maybe some miracles, or better yet, some magic? Today, if you are not inspired by magic with my guest, then I really won't know what to say, because my special guest and dear friend, Mica DeSantis, is joining us. Mica has amazing stories of her journey and her work as, get ready, as a soul baby whisperer. We're talking true soul-to-soul magic. Have you ever heard of that? Because I certainly had not heard that this was a thing until I met Mica. Now, I know and believe in the deepest connections within our human families and that they're aligned long before conception, soul to soul. But I really hadn't experienced the kind of baby connection magic that Mica brings as even a thing until I met her. Mica DeSantis is an energy healer and what she calls a conception catalyst. She operates this amazing healing business called Life Sketching. And in her truly transformative healing work through physical touch and energy healing and deep intuition and messages, Mica partners with her clients and with spirit to co-create what she calls empowered conception. She's had lots and lots of success enabling women to conceive, and especially women who'd been struggling for a long time or were diagnosed with unexplained infertility by doctors. We all know that or have experienced that, some of you. So for listeners who are interested in the topic of conception, or maybe you are seeking to conceive, or if you're just interested in the power that we actually have in our soul, this podcast is for you. We're going to hear from Mica, and then later on in the podcast, she and I jointly are going to bring in a big empowerment attunement for anyone, for everyone, that is designed to activate your solar plexus and bring you into deeper truths of who you are in your power, because that's what this is all about. So, oh my God, Mica, thank you for joining and welcome to Soul Activation Podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Good. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm great.
Good. So the first thing that I want to talk about are your titles, because I love them. Soul Baby Whisperer and Conception Catalyst. So tell our listeners a little bit about how you came to that and kind of what it really means.
Okay. The conception catalyst part came in first, and kind of by accident, or so it seemed like an accident. I found that through, and this is before I got into the work I'm doing now. So before I really understood energy work and the deep, I mean, I always knew connections between soul, but before I knew the deep connection and what's actually going on, I would play around with it. And I just had this feeling that I could help women through my touch. And so through a funny incident, I wound up touching somebody on their third eye at the time, not knowing what a third eye was, and said, I can help you get pregnant. And she had been struggling for a while. Yeah. She, another one who, was trying for about a year and, was diagnosed with unexplained infertility, and there was nothing medically wrong with her. And I just touched her on her third eye. I closed my eyes, and I had a vision of a baby boy, and it was like instant. And sure enough, they conceived that night. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's really where it all began for you?
That's where it all began. And other things happened earlier in my life, but not so directly with a conception.
Right.
But but once that happened, it was like, then I had a sister who was like, try that on me. And sure enough, same thing happened with her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then other friends and family. So.
Oh my gosh. Is it often at the third eye?
Yeah, that's what I focus on when I do it. Now, being an energy healer and being trained in more and understanding kind of more what's happening, I work with the entire energy system. So it's, but the third eye really does trigger that part with fertility.
Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. I love that. So like when you were growing up, was this at all part of your reality at all? Or did it come on literally that day?
Well, I had, ever since I was a baby, I had kind of these strange things happen. So I didn't connect the pieces until I was an adult. But when I was 2 years old, I would have dreams where I would be taken. And I call it taken, but I would actually be walked with what I call the bad clown. And he would be holding my hand and walking me by a huge glass house that was filled with babies and what I called the good clown.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So it was, and this happened, I was about 2 years old, and it happened almost every night for probably about a year. And, I remember it, and I know I was not really sleeping. I mean, wow. I guess I was some of the time, and but I would hear walking on my roof, and I would tell my parents, I hear Flipper on the roof, and I would call him Flipper, and I would talk about the clowns and the babies crying in the big glass house. And after about a year of that, it stopped. But other things, the typical things that you hear about people where like you kind of know things without knowing why, or I would have dreams that would come true. But I never really dove into any of that, especially then. I was so young.
Yeah. So what do you think was going on? Have you kind of analyzed what that was? Were you were getting acclimated probably? Somehow?
Yeah, I didn't figure it out on my own. Mm-hmm. I actually, when I was in high school, my parents said, okay, now we're going to talk to you about what was actually happening when you were a baby. And they told me, they said, my dad was having similar experiences the same nights. So he would be describing it to my mom. I would be describing it to my mom. And she's like, you're both crazy. What are you talking about? But he would have like visitors, and the same type of things. Like they would, lights would come to his window, or he'd have an experience where he'd have an encounter with some kind of being or something. So that was kind of going on at the same time for both of us. But again, it didn't, I wasn't doing this work, and I wasn't kind of familiar with what was going on energetically. But later, when I did start getting into the work, someone who became a mentor to me actually said, we were telling the stories about my dreams when I was a baby. And she said, she's the one that tied the pieces together. She said, well, you're supposed to be doing that. And I was like, what's doing that? She's like, helping women conceive. And,
oh my God.
And she connected the pieces that they were actually bringing me to these soul babies, and I was communicating with them. So that was happening back then, and I just didn't tie the pieces together. And then when I started doing the work, I was getting, and I still get messages from the soul babies. Mm-hmm. And for me, they come through through writing, but I am communicating with them on that level.
Yeah, so you have this amazing gift. You're like a broker of it, right? It's so phenomenal. We're going to hear some of those messages later on in this. But that like the visual that I have I mean, don't you kind of feel like that, a broker of the connector? You help be the connecting point on the planet. So tell
Yeah.
us how that has turned into a business. What is your business like now?
Yeah, so I'm an energy healer. I'm a Reiki master and a shamanic practitioner. So no matter who I'm working, I work with more than just women who are trying to conceive. I work with anybody in all ages. As a matter of fact, right now, I think the way the energy is, I'm actually working with a lot of kids, kind of teens and even younger, who are starting to feel the ascension symptoms and some of this other energy. So. So it's all kinds of people, and it's all kinds of healing that they're working on and through. So it's basically it's almost like a kind of a therapy session, and then I do the hands-on work with the energy, and then so I call it the ARC process: acknowledge, release, connect. So we're acknowledging kind of everything that's going on with them, everything in their life, acknowledging any trauma they're aware of. We kind of work through getting to some parts, even stuff that comes up from past life, a lot of ancestral line healing that needs to take place. And so we do a lot of releasing through the energy that way, and different exercises that we do, and then connecting. And that's connecting with the soul baby. If they're trying to conceive, it's connecting with their higher self, with angels, with guides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And do you work with like their partners or spouses too, or mostly just the women?
Mostly it's the women, but I do work with the men. Sometimes they'll come separately. Sometimes they'll come together. I like when they come separately because there's so much, it's like our entire life comes up for review when you're on the conception journey for men and women. So obviously people open up so much more when they're one-on-one and alone. So it's not that there's secrets, but it's just our deep,
your stuff,
our soul, so
yeah.
So it's just, for me, it's easier to kind of do it with them separately, but I'm happy to work with them together, and I do at times. Yeah.
So we've never talked about this question, but do you work with soul contracts? Like, is that part of what happens, or how do you see that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say purposely, but it does come through. Actually, I pulled out 2 messages, soul baby messages, and one of them actually wound up being what seems like a soul contract that needed completion. And when the messages come through, I don't necessarily realize why they're coming through and what's being said. But then when I share them and then I get information back, then it kind of gives me that bigger picture. So the one that I pulled out actually kind of does that. So.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So we'll hear that in a little bit.
Okay.
Because I was just thinking about that, because sometimes I wonder, and listeners might wonder too, like, how much do you feel it's preordained, or how do you see that in terms of the baby and the parents? Like, as far as if you have insights into that.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be able to say for sure.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities. There's so many different ways things can go. I think that's the tricky thing for this work, or this kind of work in general. When people go to psychics and then they think a psychic was wrong, but it's like, no, there were so many possible ways this could go.
Right.
So it depends what we're tapping into at that time. So I think it's a tricky one. Yeah.
No, I get it. I think, but what you do know probably is that at this time, this is the connection that's perfect, right? That you're helping facilitate. So whether there was something else, it's like, it feels like you open up the window of opportunity big time with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and that's why I like the messages, and I like that they get to have them, because, a lot of times when I give them to them, they don't necessarily resonate or make sense at the time, but they usually do, quickly after, like the next day. I usually get a phone call or a text like, oh my God. But even might be much later, but either way, it never fails that it always gives some kind of confirmation that like you're saying, like that there's a specific soul who is confirming that they are coming through and they are giving their messages.
And that's what you get. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. I want to ask about a little bit more about how you came into your healer aspects before we go to a short break, because I know that in your earlier, in your 20s, you were diagnosed with a pretty serious condition. And how's that part of your whole healing journey and emergence into this amazing healer yourself?
For me, it was a big lesson. I think it was one of my big life lessons. Was kind of, I was busy. I was in the corporate world. I was work, big life,
Yeah.
and it forced me to stop. That's what it came down to. I stopped. I had to stop. And I was able to go inside probably for the first time in my life and really recognize my energy and what was happening. And then I had the time because I had to stop working to learn about other things and dive into it a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was purposeful in that way as much as it might have been not. Yeah. You made the most of it. Yeah. Yeah. How does that play out now with things?
Well, first of all, it's so again, confirming because I did so much energy work on myself that my condition, I've kind of put into the background. It's not a big part of my life because I'm able to manage that energy. And I know when the energy is off and when I'll flare up or have something new come about. So
do you mind if we share with listeners what it is? I don't want it to be a secret.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Correct.
And so you've been, you manage it very, very well with energy, right?
Yeah. It's a mindset thing too, which I think when people start to realize that they can talk about empowerment, it's to empower themselves through their energy, to empower themselves through their thoughts. My first doctor, actually, he said to me, don't ever join the support groups. And at the time, I didn't really understand what he was saying. It was also new to me. And I was like, okay. And he said to me, you don't want this to consume your mind and your life, because if it's consuming your mind, you're going to be sick. You're physically going to deteriorate, so it was great advice. So I don't stay in that energy
back then. Cause I think that that's awesome. We know the power of the thoughts, and that probably plays into conception as much as anything too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get the benefit of actually hearing some of the messages that have come through to Mica. When we come back, we're going to take a very short break. And if there's any live listeners on Facebook, we welcome any questions from people. And then we'll talk some more about the magic of all of this too, about how it works. So stay tuned as we come back from a break. And then after that, we're going to do a beautiful alignment for all listeners that will help empower, because this is, as you're seeing, it's all about empowerment. So thank you for staying with us on Soul Activation Podcast, and we'll be back shortly.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
You've been listening, but are you watching? Tune in to your favorite shows on the Transformation Talk Radio Facebook page. We stream live video podcasts every day, and we love to hear from you. Leave comments and questions for the host to address live, on the air, and get to know the faces behind the voices you love. Just go to Facebook and search for Transformation Talk Radio.
Yeah, yippee skippy to that, baby.
Hi, I'm Patricia McNair, host of Divine Guidance with Patricia, and I'm here to help you live a more authentic, spiritually connected life. Join me every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Being who you are in everyday life is the key to unlocking soul wisdom within that our whole self already knows. Get ready to embrace your spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being, your whole being. Discover your gifts and strengthen your connection to spirit. We will explore earth guidance, divine truth and love, past life lessons, and so much more. So listen in to Divine Guidance with Patricia and join in your personal adventure to triggering, opening, validating, and being all that you are. For more information about me, visit divineguidance.earth.
Juggling life's relentless demands can leave us unbalanced and restless. Do you feel stuck in the overwhelm? Diane McClay is a personal empowerment coach, author, and compassionate storyteller on a mission to boost you into balance and help you move forward with passion and purpose. Get unstuck with Diane on The Diane McClay Show every second and fourth Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about Diane, visit DianeMcClay.com.
Mind to Heart with me, Craig Richardson, carves a pathway from your mind to your heart to activate that innate compass to overcome whatever life sends your way. As an intuitive life coach, I am ready to guide you to an amazing life. Tune in live every second and fourth Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about me, visit CraigERichardson.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Soul Activation Podcast with Suzanne Alexandria. And I'm here today with my amazing guest, Mica DeSantis, who is a baby whisperer and conception catalyst. And we're talking about how she helps women and has been helping lots and lots of women conceive after they really thought all their power was gone, all their hopes were gone. So, Mica, welcome back. Thanks for staying through the break.
Thank you.
And so we've been talking about how you've got, how you do your work. And so one of the things that you do is you are able to get a message, right, through channeling from the soul baby, from that soul that you deliver. So tell us about that process and how you use it. And then we'd love to hear some of those.
Okay. Yeah. So before I even meet with a client, I connect with their energy. So I'll get a feel of what's going on with them. So I feel a lot of things physically. So I might notice physically in me where I'm feeling blocks. I do get intuitive messages about what that might be, or at least something that might need to be cleared out. So I go through that process, and then if they're trying to conceive, a lot of times I will get a message from the soul baby will come in before I even meet with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't get it until after. It doesn't mean anything one way or the other. People get very nervous when they don't get a message beforehand, and they're like, no, there's no rhyme or reason to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just comes, so it's intuitively, it comes through and energetically.
Yeah. And what are the messages like usually? I mean, are they similar, or is there something that characterizes them?
They're similar in format. They're just short. They're short. They're a couple of lines. They're almost like poems. Not that they necessarily are rhyming poems, but they're just kind of like little clips.
That's so cool. When did you start getting those? How did that did it just start happening one day?
It just started happening. I had already started doing the healing work, but then the messages did start coming through. I think I was always kind of getting them on some level, but I wasn't really translating them or fully downloading them. Mm-hmm. But then, I think just the more I was writing in general through my own process was how I was just able to get them more. Yeah.
Okay, well, we would love it if you could share. Of course, they're anonymous, but if you could share a couple, just so listeners can take in, this is what Mica gets to do. She gets to relay this divine message to her client that brings, I'm sure, so much. So yeah, go ahead and share one or two.
I mean, and I'll just mention, not only does it bring in a specific message for them, but a lot of these women that I work with aren't even aware of the soul being out there, and that they can connect with it, and that there is a whole relationship around that. So, so even that, just to open up that channel, and so they're aware that channel is there, whether or not they're doing it themselves, is just, I feel like it's a huge gift, and it changes their entire journey.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'm really glad you said that, because like people don't have to even be spiritual to work with you, right? Or have to know any of this at all. No. It's not a prerequisite.
No. It's actually, well, in the beginning it was rare that people were aware of all of this, but now it's actually funny that a lot of the clients that I've gotten recently are actually healers. So there's this like influx of healers who are trying to conceive. So it's interesting how it shifts.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's fun.
So they're very special souls coming in, to kind of, be a part of that role in that family.
Oh, yeah. So, seeking the mother. That's a healer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
beautiful. Okay. Go ahead.
So here's one. So, okay. Wrapped around you like a blanket is my love. The cozy feeling you get when all of a sudden it feels like home, that is me. We are already in relationship, and I will incarnate soon. The scenes from the past are no longer needed. Visualize them on paper, rip up the paper, and burn it in a big, beautiful fire. Our new life together will not be tied to old family patterns. Go back to skipping rope. That's where we will play. Put the seashell on the windowsill. So,
wow. Oh my gosh.
Can you feel that?
I really feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh. So that baby came in with that intention and that ability. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that one, that came through. And again, so this was, she said to me, she said, I don't know, none of that, means anything to me. She's like, she felt it, and she loved the message. She said, but like the certain things didn't mean much. And she called me the next day. She's like, okay, she's like, you're not going to believe this. She's like, my husband came home and told me that he ordered me a new jump rope because the old one is too short.
Oh my God.
And then he told her that he put a seashell from their wedding on their windowsill.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then she read him the message and he was like, what? Yeah. So there again, it's their confirmation, right? She's connected and
then they went on to conceive.
Literally that one was like a week ago.
Oh my God.
Might have, but
let's hope. Yeah. Pretty sure there's some divine connection happening.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have one more?
Yeah, I have another one. So this one is the one going back to the soul contracts. I'll read it first and then kind of backtrack of how it made sense later. But so this one says, I forgive you. I already had. We have bigger work to do. It was all part of the timing. You already know me, and we already played this game a different way. You'll start to remember, and it will all be clear. You don't have to do anything. It's all been arranged. He, meaning her husband, won't understand, so no need to explain. If you need to share the magic, write it down for me for when I am older. To help you remember, I am connected with your dad. Raindrops on the grass will bring to mind the smell from your childhood. Connect with that when you want to find me. Put your hands on your womb to keep it warm. The energy will pull me to you. The spring morning dew will bring you back to that feeling. Walk in the grass barefoot. Play and create. There are no rules on how to do it right. So, wow. That one was really interesting because she said to me, that is my father. And he just passed like 5 or 6 months before that, which which I didn't know. So she said that was him. She said he actually would talk about the smell of the grass, and we would always go outside and walk barefoot. And then we went back to the lines, when he talked, and the line is, you already know me, and we already played this game a different way. So what was interesting about that, she actually conceived right then, and then she miscarried. So for me, the message kind of makes sense. It was kind of like, he knew that this role had to kind of be played and in this way. So to me, it felt like it was like a soul contract that got completed through that process and through the miscarriage. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm sure I've heard of that in other instances where that kind of thing happens, miscarriages and other things. And it's very much still part of the soul plan. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What are some of the this is a question for listeners. Thank you for sharing those, and to the wonderful people who those are for. Blessings. What are some of the things, do you see recurring themes of what have kept the conception like spiritually? Is there anything that is like a trend or something that might be useful or interesting that you notice?
Yeah, it's there's I probably the typical blocks, right? Like the shame, guilt scenario. A lot of times having miscarriages, having miscarriages without having the opportunity to heal that's a big one. So I do that work with them as well. If they've had that, connecting them with the soul that has passed, just acknowledging that they can acknowledge that. That's a big one, right? Because society, like, you have a miscarriage, especially early on, it's okay, you're going to try again, like, not a big deal, when it's early. And it is a big deal, because even if they never conceived, they connected with the soul. So it's more than what people think it is. So definitely miscarriages, abortions, just acknowledging having one is a huge one, because that is forming so many blocks inside their energy. Another one is a lot of ancestral stuff. So it's funny, because I had a client just recently, I guess it was this week, and something kept coming up about her husband, and I was like, and I kept bringing up, like, it's something, with the husband, and I was like, but it's not about your husband. And I was like, what is your husband's mother's birth? Is there a story there? Is there? And it turned out, she's like, oh yeah, his mother almost died in childbirth, so it's always been this very stressful thing.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Yeah. So it's really hard. I mean, it's not really hard. Like, a lot of times it's pretty quick. We can kind of realize what it is. But you have to get to a point where you realize it might not be something so, like, in your face and in this time. It can be from anything and from anybody.
Right. Yeah. But it feels like what you get to do is clear. And I just have this visual of a green pasture, like these women find you, and then you create the clearing that is needed to be in a place to receive, because conception is so much about receiving too.
Yeah, it's everything. And I do a lot of imagery work with them, which, when you say the green pasture, it's like, it always starts off like in some kind of like field, and you're kind of connecting from that field and with the sun. Beautiful. And
Oh, the field of infinite possibility and conception. Oh, that feels so good. Let's see. Let me just ask, and then I want to talk about how people can find you, but what is any guidance? Like, what's the typical guidance you would have if there are people who maybe are themselves seeking, or they know someone? Like, what kind of guidance do you give to women as they're thinking about working with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think guidance in general for women who are on this journey is to let go of what you think the plan might be, like, really detach from how this is going to play out. And I know that's, it's kind of an annoying thing to hear from someone, but it's true. It's like the more you can let go of what you're expecting and what you're thinking, the more enjoyable the entire journey is going to be. And I just want to also mention that the work also takes place whether or not you are having a biological child, or if you're going to adopt or use a surrogate or anything. No matter what process you're kind of doing there, it's the same thing. It's still the acknowledge, good. Release, and then connect with that soul. So no matter where that soul is coming through,
it's the same. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That's actually so helpful. Good.
Yeah.
Because it still is. Yeah, I've got a friend who adopted babies and has a beautiful story and knew like she had a similar kind of thing because she had a knowing that those babies, even through that other way, were being brought to her. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, change the mindset, empower yourselves. Forget about all of the drama. We have so much drama around this topic that women really can get so stressed out.
Yeah. And there's easy tools that they can use to start the process. They can work with someone to support them, like the work I do, but they can start off by writing a letter to their soul baby, and that opens up a channel. So simple steps that just, again, has them acknowledge that that's out there. And, a simple letter or, some kind of practice like that.
Ooh, that's really beautiful. Okay. So anyone who is seeking, do that, but also reach out to Mica DeSantis. So Mica, tell us how people can find you, and then we'll talk about your special offer that you've got available on your website.
Right. You can find, my website is lifesketching.com. And from there, you can email me, call me, text me, whatever you want to do. On Instagram, I am Soul Baby Whisperer. And then I'm on Facebook under Life Sketching.
Life Sketching. And so that recording that you have, tell us about that special, it's an energy recording that people can download off your website.
Yes, it's binaural beats. And they were created they're at a frequency where they're actually healing the chakras where most of the healing needs to take place in order to conceive. So the frequencies are based off of that. So you're just listening to them. They're very subtle. They're just these sounds, but you want to listen to them with headphones on, and you'll it will balance your energy. It will do some healing with those frequencies, and just kind of assist you along the conception journey.
Oh, and
very
awesome.
Cool. They're powerful.
Now,
you'll feel
so
them.
would partners listen to that too? Would it be helpful?
Yeah. The partners can do all this stuff. Yeah.
And really, ultimately, it would be wonderful if they did, if it's all together, right? Yeah. And that's a really generous offer because you normally sell that on your website, but you have a free code. What's the free code?
I think it's free soul. I think it's free soul. Yeah.
It's in with this podcast too.
Okay.
Reach out if you need the code, but do take advantage of that because that's quite a generous gift for listeners, people who have listened to this.
Yeah. And if you listen to them, give me feedback because they're very powerful for people. So I like to hear from them.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Okay. Tune in on, you're very active online on Insta and Facebook. So people will find you.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. We are going to take another short break, and then Mica and I are joining our vibrations together to bring in some powerful, actually some divine masculine sun power activation energy for anyone who's listening, male, female, trying to conceive or not. Don't worry if you're not. So we'll be back in a few minutes.
Marriage is not always easy, but skills that improve communication go a long way. Tune in to the Relationship Rehab Show, Recovering Happiness in Your Love with Nancy Landrum and Dr. Pat each month on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Nancy is an author and teacher empowering couples to create and sustain loving marriages. Learn to listen, speak, and handle conflict with respect so your love can flourish. To learn more about Nancy and her work, visit nancylandrum.com.
How do you feel? Just okay? Well, how about you tune in and get ready to be more with the Healing Hour with me, Doc Martin, every third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. I'm ready for your questions, and I can't wait to help you find the answers. Every month we'll have a new live call-in show with innovative topics and a powerful hour of healing. To learn more about me, visit DrSharonMartin.com. See you there. I'm going to be here. You won't want to miss it.
Are you ready to put down that drink or drug for good? Are you struggling to maintain your recovery from addictive behaviors? Do you need help with a family member or loved one who's in early recovery or battling addiction? Get the help and guidance you need by arranging a recovery recharged phone session with me, Ellen Stewart, Pushy Broad from the Bronx, certified life and recovery coach. Call 1-800-889-1757. Make an appointment today or go to my website, pushybroadfromthebronx.com, and click on the link that says Recovery Recharged. Don't wait. Get the help you need today. This is Ellen Stewart, Pushy Broad from the Bronx, on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
What we've been taught and told is not all there is. Life is all about energy, and the energy you feel is real. Tune into the Energy Paradigm each month on TransformationTalkRadio.com with Dr. Vic. The Energy Paradigm is an eye-opening, mind-shifting, transformative, and earth-shattering way to live, work, and do business that will enable you to unlock your magic every day. Visit theenergyparadigm.com.
Hi, friends. Welcome back with me, Suzanne Alexandria, and Mica DeSantis. We're continuing our chat, and we're going to bring in a beautiful integrative empowerment meditation in a few moments. But before we begin that, I wanted to ask one final question to Mica, because really what she does, what you do, Mica, is it's co-creation. I mean, you are bringing in powerful energy, and you're co-working with spirit and with baby souls. So I just wanted to ask, who is your ethereal angelic support network, or how do you connect with them?
I think my team is a mishmash. A lot of ancient Egypt, Isis, and that kind of empowered woman, that feminine energy. But also Mother Mary definitely comes in with my work a lot. And I feel very connected with a lot of the galactic energy. So like Pleiadian energy. There's actually like Blu-ray energy that I always have my hands on. It works through my hands.
Yeah.
So
like Reiki,
So I think it's kind of it's a lot. I get a lot, obviously, a lot of guidance, a lot of things that are working through me, and I think it's from a lot of different places.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because souls come from a lot of different realms and like families and groups. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
it probably has many layers from what I could see.
Yeah.
Well, today I very much feel the power and presence also, those you mentioned, but also Kali Ma. So we're going to work with, obviously, like we hold this space with the divine feminine, with Isis and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And we also, what we're going to do is, for listeners, provide an opening to connect with Ra, the sun god Ra, and Helios, and the solar plexus, to really bring a very balancing masculine feminine to everyone who would love to receive that. So does that sound good, Mica? Will you join me in that?
Sounds great. Yes.
Okay.
All
right, let's get some music started, and I'm just going to guide. We're going to do this in tandem today. So the intention is to focus internally, not if you're driving, but if you have a few moments, to let yourself focus internally and receive. Soul Activation Podcast is about understanding what activation is and why we do it. So Mica is a beautiful example. She said yes to her activation, to her soul, amazing soul power gifts. And look what she gets to offer to these two women and men and families. It's huge. So when we say yes to that presence in us that wants to serve and wants to be lit up and on fire, pretty magical things happen. And so this little activation with Ra, it's not so little, is for that, for listeners, for anything that you wish to be in co-creation about, that you're maybe working on bringing in, birthing in a way. It could be a project, it could be a relationship, it could be healing, it could be lots of things. That's what this is about today. So I would invite you to close your eyes and receive. Simply say yes to the attunement and the light from the heavenly realm that supports us all. As we invite a connection first for all listeners, whether you're listening live or later in this recording, allowing you to connect with Mother Gaia on the earth plane, because this is about bringing heavenly light to the earth. It's about, Mica's work is about connecting heavenly spirit souls with their human families. We are that powerful. We are these creative beings that have these magical lives, and it happens because we say yes to it, because we work together, and because we open to receive. So allowing, if you are in agreement with that, your energy body, your aura and your field is gently being very, very gently opened. And I invite you to imagine the sun above you. The sun, our sun that shines over our planet and is a conduit of beautiful light. It's a conduit of all the light that creates all life on our planet. And let it become present for you, even if it's nighttime. Imagine the sun shining on you, these vast rays that come down over your body, cascading around your beautiful body and helping you anchor onto the earth even a little bit more. The sun conveys beautiful, harmonizing life force and also light codes. And if you, at this moment, are seeking to receive some light codes, they will be really placed in your field. They'll be activated. And above our sun, there's a central sun. So imagine another source light that is the source, the infinite source, that brings to you exactly what you seek and what you desire. And our angels ask the question, are you willing to receive a little more light? Are you really willing to receive a little more of yourself in this moment? A little more of your truth, of your divinity? And if you agree, simply say yes to that. And you might feel or sense in your solar plexus area an opening, like a door opening above your belly button. Your solar plexus starting to expand and to open, almost like a chalice, to receive your own personal activation codes. This is from your own higher self, from your source, and from your Akasha. So it might have been something you've been praying for or aware of or asking for. Or it might be brand new, but you might start to have an awareness that this spurs in you or ignites in you. It is fully meant to empower you in your sovereignty, to help you find and own and know your own voice, your own power. To remember that you're not powerless over the establishment or over what society says. or over others, but you have this innate power within you that is so mighty, and it is delicate too, and it is fierce, and it is supple, and it is strong. It's a candle in you. And that is anchoring down into your legs, your hips, your feet, and your earth connection. And allow the light from the sun, from the central sun, to work through both sides of your body. I'm seeing a golden figure 8 or infinity sign, helping to weave your energy field back and forth, harmonizing your masculine and your feminine within your field. So as you empower yourself to receive, you also empower yourself to be in harmony and be in balance. And now imagine you from this central light in your belly, in your solar plexus. Imagine the sun there that is enabled to amp up to a higher vibration and a higher voltage, more light, because you have said, okay, I'm willing, I'm receiving this. I'm allowing this. And it starts to fill your belly and warm your heart. Go down and warm and light up your feet. Activate your healing hands. And from your heart, it starts to move up to your throat and your third eye and your crown. And then it expands all around you. So you are a sun. Your aura is as bright yellow as the sun. And it's expanding. And that aura, that is your essence. And it starts to be allowed to send out rays outwardly, because you've allowed yourself to be filled with this divine sun power light from Ra, from the central sun. And it starts to expand. So if there's a person, place, or thing in your life that you would like to extend this light to, feel free to bring them into your awareness, perhaps kind of holding them in your hands or your heart. And let yourself, your beautiful self, send that to anywhere you feel called to send it. And then allow this to become your state of empowerment. You've just received an amped up solar plexus code, essentially, from Ra through Ra. And if you'd like to kind of continue your practice with this, the solar plexus is yellow, and citrine is a stone that helps with the solar plexus activation. So if you happen to have any citrine, I'm just guided to share, or anything yellow in your awareness, you can keep your focus on amping up your power, your codes. But we ask that actually the light of Mercury come around and seal your field now, so that you're all sealed after this was opened, and you are replenished, you're restored. Hopefully you're feeling more and more light with this, and you are really in kind of closed so that you can contain your light now. Asking for protection, light all around you, all of our listeners, for the continued upliftment of us all. Thank you, Mica, for joining me in that. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was amazing.
You were definitely. I know I saw you. You were also sending to everyone that blue light. I could totally sense that. So thank you. You got a blue light attunement from Mica DeSantis. And as we wrap up, I just invite everyone who has been called, reach out to Mica at lifesketching.com or on Facebook. Thank you, Mica, for being my amazing guest today and for helping women, when they're in their time of probably some of the deepest darkness. You're such a light to them. So thank you for saying yes to your gifts and your light. I mean, look what you get to do because you did that.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you.
It's an honor for us all. All right. Well, in closing, I just want to say thank you to all our amazing listeners. Again, I'm Suzanne Alexandria, and if you seek other kinds of spiritual guidance to activate your own soul superpowers or your healing gifts, I would love to chat with you. Reach out to me at SuzanneAlexandria.com, and you can arrange a totally free phone call where we can discuss what you're seeking. I would love to connect with you. And mostly also, I would love for you to remember this light that is in you that just ignited some more, that you're so blessed. And frankly, we're all so blessed to be here at this time. You're a light on this earth. So keep it activated, keep it shining. You're a star in this amazing body. I'll see you next time on Soul Activation Podcast every second and fourth Monday at 3 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. To me, this path of healing and enlightenment is this immaculate process of finding all the parts of us that have been lost and hidden and even taken, and then very masterfully and lovingly recombining ourselves, coming into our true self, and then all of a sudden realizing, oh my gosh, I'm home. Thank you for listening to Soul Activation Podcast. For more information about me, visit SuzanneAlexandria.com. Tune in every second and fourth Monday, 2 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern at TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.